Nortor straight off the rip. And then, just a very strong survivor side from Ancestor. Ancestor being another team within the competition that actually was promoted from the Academy division, actually falling short this time around to Dream Player. They did win the previous one for Season 5, maybe last year, months ago now, but more towards the end of the year. Regardless, Nortor going to be playing the Ghoul for KaitOkids, and like clockwork, we are going to be taking those tentacles into the middle of the map here, trying to sniff out our first time out chase of the game, but our survivors playing very stealth-like as per usual. We have yet to find, so as we do traverse here towards the bottom of that, for build, we do have no corrupt intervention, which is not uncommon, I will admit, but sometimes can be perceived as strange. So it's a lot of snowball, and it results on a lot of heavy early game pressure, which I definitely think Nortor can uphold, but I mean, it just has to pan out, right? That's all just in theory. So we are going to be taking this second tag, though, onto Space01. As I'm saying that he needs the tags and he needs the early game pressure, there's 2 right off the bat, and we see even more scratch marks over at 10. That's going to be Yuki in chase now, who is the captain of Ancestor. Now, what can they pull out of the hat? That's a mean tag. Get it off my screen. Oh, God. And it's, 3 consecutive ones straight off the bat, maybe within the first couple of minutes within the matchup. As we do break the door into main, it's going to make it all that little much weaker as we do manage to make the coal bucket pallet here. That's going to be pre-dropped in our face, but broken straight away. And Nortor really putting on the Jets the front foot here. Does vault over the pallet. We do win the 50-50 mind game, and you lose collision to vault back into the killer. The big harmless is what he's sometimes called, as to why this does happen, which is why he's given that nickname. But with some wacky flashlight placement, maybe we should have just broken away with the distance back into main. It is going to be us on the floor. Nortor going to be picking up straight away, so going to be hooking our survivor in the middle of the map in the guts of main with that pain resonance. That's going to slow the progression. Oh, maybe over into corner 11. So what's the gen spread looking like as far as bottom is concerned? It's looking pretty good actually for top to be held, and it is a very far away hook from those generators being worked over at bottom. That's not going to matter later on in the trial because we want to hold on to top for dear life, but some nice progression from the survivors going on there. Now, just quickly touching up on the build, as I did say, there was no corrupt intervention. We do have the likes of Ruin, turn back the clock, eruption, and pain resonance. So you have a couple of perks that are going to help us in the late game. I do believe Ruin was broken underneath our nose, though, and because it is not currently lit up, and I did hear something break in the background, so I do believe it is gone. But look, Eruption, turn back the clock, really going to help us out in that 3-gen scenario. Granted, we can get to the 3v1 in time, and that we actually get our tunnel out in, which I'm definitely confident that Nortor can, especially coming back towards the backside of main and interrupting the reset if there ever was one. This is going to be, again, Yuki really trying to haul ass through the middle of the map here. Greets the pallet very nicely, does drop it in the face of Nortor. Does he opt to break this? He does. There's the champion of light flashlight play coming in again, which is what you saw at 1, which caused his ultimate demise. Does win another 50-50 mind game there, gets the stun in the process. First generator of the trial procs in the background. Really second one, why not? And that's another blind from Yuki onto Nortor. The hindering coming in from there as it has successfully done so. We do see Leon coming in for that body block there, but we've missed the swing onto Leon. We've sandbagged Leon even. That's even funnier, but really trying to catch off Yuki off guard. Tag onto Leon. Do we divert and go for Leon now? I don't think we should, but Nortor thinks we should. What do you think of this play? No, he's opted to go for the tunnel out, so I do like this play. He has the time to do so. He has lost 2 generators, but it doesn't really matter because there's no more pressure on the board. He just needs this down to happen quick.
Yeah, I think Nortor was in a very interesting position there. We could have had, realistically, a lot of different avenues to progress this game. I actually thought after we got that tag onto Leon, we were going to venture back into our generators and look to get some other injuries on the board, but I have only now just clocked that Space01 himself is still injured in this trial. Actually, he's just been caught out here, having balanced off that hill at 2, but the bounce coming out to cut us off from the mid-map. It's going to be us just very quickly on the ground. You're never safe around the Ghoul. Even if you do use your exhaustion, all the distance you thought you have bought was just shoved right back down your face, and unfortunately, that does mean Space01 will be getting hooked right inside of these gens, and boy oh boy, are they, holy hell, sorry, I didn't actually realize how gross they were. I know I was about to say it, but I have been caught off guard. Hunter, I've been watching. This is a really random tangent, but I'm gonna go on about it just to explain what went through my head. I've been watching a lot of videos about tornadoes and people just it's not being they're tornadoes that exist in the world that are rain wrapped, and what that means is you can't see them because it's raining, it's storming, and you don't see them literally until you're inside of them, and you're dead. You're in a tornado, right? These gens for Nortor are going to be just like a tornado because getting a survivor out of this scenario is going to feel like a real whirlwind moving forward. Leon is attempting to here, but a trade is going to probably be exactly what Nortor wants. He's going to get the down. Actually, no, hitting the BT of space and continuing his tunnel out now. That could be a very quick down as we have the window at main to play around. We're trying to cut off from the pallet, but it hasn't worked out just yet. It's going to be a stun. And Nortor now, bit lost as he does follow loosely Space 01, but somebody, excuse me, followed now at 3, spotted out with the scratch marks. I do believe this is Leon who's venturing towards that bottom side. Nortor's going to have to do his damnedest to hold on to these generators, which, to be fair, is going to prove to be very, very easy as he's about to get his third injury as Yuki was just reset, and that's going to spell some positives for Nortor. These gens, once again, are ridiculous. My reaction, much like those of the people caught in a tornado, which is what I was eventually trying to wrap around to. Because my oh my, I don't know what you do in this scenario. Your most bottom gen is top mid, and it is touching main. Dagestan is dead once again inside of these gens, right in the middle. That's our third hook, our third fresh of the trial, another pain res, which is slowing down that bot mid-gen, which our survivors have only been able to work because the rest of these gens are so difficult to get to, let alone do anything about. And now, once again, a very quick unhook, needing to get these survivors out of these gens. Yuki, the preferred savior, but this is another survivor with a hook state on them. We need to be very careful that he isn't quickly put in the same position because him being death hooked would spell even bigger problems if he was to be hooked inside of those gens, especially because we really need them to be worked right now. And we see a reset onto Leon coming on out. We did see something over it too that might have been a missed skill check, could have been anything. Yuki at least is winning these 50s on these TNLs, and once again a good chase, and those gens topside to be at least progressed is exactly what we need right now. And the only way that's going to happen, especially knowing now that all of these resets have come through, Leon's also crossing right behind us under our nose, meaning only now are those gens going to be progress, Hunter, with this down coming in.
Yeah,
we
Yuki.
Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. No, continue. I honestly thought that you were like just leading me into casting from there. Sorry. I do apologize.
I am running out of breath. That is my bad. And I definitely do need you to come take over in just a second. But I wanted to point out that this hook at 10 is still very, very bad. And for that chase, we didn't really get much done. These resets are going to be pretty unvaluable with the strength of Ghoul to get injuries. And yeah, we really need gen progress.
No, we definitely do. That was an amazing chase from Yuki there, just over in mid to really prolong just the game entirely because it's allowed them to get the pressure they needed on these topside generators. As we do take the tag back onto Leon here, he has caught it a loss. He does not have anything to be working with, and that's going to be him on the floor. Maybe even a slug to keep up the pressure here. Maybe we can get a tag on to go to Dagestan, who's taking the chase over towards 11 now. Going to be getting hit with that Kagune mark, and where does he go from here? Not really many places, but we do manage to get 2 done in the process there. Probably want to get this hook and just negate any sort of progression that could potentially be happening over at 1, or potentially even just save it. But I dare say, with Pain Resonance so close, we are just going to be hooking in the front of main. No, we're going for 1. We're thinking about it. I think he's just a little bit too worried about the distance there. But there's Pain Resonance being used for you know, nothing really in return. I don't think we got too much progression on the generators there, but that's going to be go to Dagestan in a very bad position, going down over in the corner of 11. Another hook, rinse and repeat scenario. That's 2 quick hooks in 2 quick succession. So Nortor straight back on the case here towards corner 11. He's going to, oh, it's corner 1, sorry. He is going to be sniffing out whoever's around this area, but I don't think there really is anybody because they've all just picked up off the hook and just tore us down to the bottom where they could potentially get a reset going on. Scratch Mark's doubling them in a little bit though, and that's going to be Yuki in chase, and he's our Death Hook survivor. This is not the survivor you want down on the floor. And then we get a body block. No, he's on the floor, and that's grounds for Slug in here. We can get Sluggy with it and get another down, and that's going to be extra problems for the side of Ancestor. Oh, baiting out the dead hard. No, I don't even know if he was the dead hard survivor. He is on the floor though, and that's going to be, yes, Yuki out of the trial. Leon on the floor. We could potentially even leave Leon here and just go for the pressure over at top if we so choose to do so. But Nortor, pretty happy to take his hook here. Maybe. No, he's thought exactly the way that I thought seconds ago. So traversing straight back towards top half of the map where maybe we can spot somebody out in a bad spot and just continue on the chase from there, rinse, repeat, downs, and we are the 3v1, so we want to uphold the pressure and the integrity of what the situation is. So, well, at least for our killer, because our survivors, this is not looking good for them. They have no pressure at all. There's no gen being worked here over at 1, no gen being worked here over at 12, or even the likes of mid-10. So we definitely could have gone for that hook onto our down survivor Leon, and he is up and at them now. So he has been picked off the ground and fully reset, might I add. I'm not too sure who would be doing that, but they are going to be caught out momentarily, and it's all going to mean for naught. At least Leon's is, because we did manage to 99 go to Dagestan, and then he just was healthy in front of our face all of a sudden. But hello! As I say that, that's all the progression undone, and that's mighty unfortunate stuff. Kind of needed to happen because you need the chase to happen here. But Nortor, knowing that, doesn't really want to commit anything he doesn't have to, and just go straight back on the generators where potentially Space 01 could just be hiding out here, ready to strike his opportunity. Or strike with his opportunity that he's been awarded. So, just going to be checking the coal buckets and potentially the far edge of the map to see if the survivor rotated towards this portion, because if you look at carefully how obviously one is dispersed, not really much for you to walk on or walk to after being spotted out. Even main, where do you got it? Where do you go? What, 10? What if the killer's rotating from that side or inside main? They're gonna know, they're gonna see you, so there's not really much you can do. But we have evaded the kill with a nice bit of pre-leaving, so if we can get a quick flick around to what our survivor's doing, because we know what the killer's going to just look around these generators. He does manage to find out the once upon a time reset, and yeah, Space 01 was always in the back half of 12. When we didn't see him, you'd be kicking yourself if you're Nortor, but does manage to get a nice tag onto Leon, and he's just... What he's doing is he's forcing those survivors over at bottom to constantly be in a state of wanting to reset. All in the meantime, buying himself enough time to find out he's stealthing survivor over at top, which he does so effectively. It's going to be Space 01 in chase now with... I was going to say Eruption. Oh my god, that's not what I'm thinking of. It's Enrage to our disposal. 3 dashes. Dead hard survivor. Not going to work out in our favor. Down on the floor. That's going to be a very bad spot to be in for our serves. Nortor's just going to take this hook over at corner 1 or the 12 maybe. It is a little bit far. I don't know if we should have played for 12. Do we even make that hook? And it's going to be very, very close. But you know what? I can't look. Oh, no, he definitely... Okay, he makes it. Yeah, right. He counted a couple wiggles and you were a little bit too short. I think maybe just a little bit of a smidge, just a little bit too short. But it was dicey. I mean, Nortor playing extra greedy there for that hook. But it's a pretty mean one when you think about it. It's in the corner of the corner gen, which is just a horrid location to try and unhook underneath the killer's nose. What do you do here for the serves? I guess well, the only thing they can do is disperse the pressure amongst 1 and 10. But they do need Space 01 off of the hook in this time. You know, in the 3v1, you need all 3 survivors up and at them, because it's extremely unlikely that you can do a gen from start to finish with only 2 survivors left in the trial. So at the 2v1, so going to be taking a tag on to go to Dagestan, which is not what you need. And he is Death Hook. So Nortor getting a little bit antsy with the swings there. Maybe trying to use his power and forgot to hold down the right mouse button. But ultimately, does not matter. He is going to be just, yeah, covering back half of main for any sort of funny rotations that will be happening. But I think Leon, yeah, just slamming out that generator there. Go to Dagestan caught at a loss and is in a constant state of push-pull, as we like to put it. Nortor going to see if he can press and catch out off guard our ace survivor working this generator here, Leon, who is going to be getting hit just in a few moments there. Forced to use main. Wait, we even got the death onto... Oh, no. Onto Space 01. Forced locker grab. Not enough. Not enough. I don't think there's not enough pressure over at 10. Can we get a quick flick around to 10? It's nowhere near. No way. I can see him on the HUD. It's like
0.
20% done. Wait. Oh, I'm just gaslighting myself. Okay. Well, you know, 4K1 chopped up as we know it here, Chief. Good performance put up from Nortal, I must say.
Yeah, no, I mean, Northwood's played very, very standard. He's played quite well. He hasn't put anything too far out of his way. Rather, he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's played quite well, quite standard. And his gens were unbelievably favorable. He's gotten a 4K1 off the back of them. I think Ancestor Survivors played pretty comfortably in that early game, and then their mid game got a little bit dicey as those gens were sort of unveiled to us. And
Nonsense. We're here to see if we can match the 4K0, and I'm pretty confident that KaitOkids definitely can. They want to win. I know they've been looking forever in search of their first win for Season 6, and it's quite disheartening that they haven't gotten it yet. There's been a few upsets, in particular the first set, the first series that they played. I can't remember what team they actually played, but it was like they won the first set, and then the following after they lost 2 sets, and it just it was still a very close match, but probably one that they would have wanted to take away. Anyway, as I'm saying that, it's going to be Freya up for the job here on the killer, and does manage to cover around 4K2 is the mission, and I don't really know if it's doable here. Well, you know what? No, it is doable, but it's hard. So you got Nortal, Stay Narrow, Sumpeng, and Gunther on the job. You know, it's pretty much just it's a championship lineup when you think about it. But with the exception, obviously, Sumpeng being a new addition to KaitOkids. Anyway, following into more recent events, we are going to be taking the chase onto Gunther, who has rotated towards 5 with this very nice filler palette here that tends to be pretty long and hard for the Ghoul to be working with in some instances here, which you will see right now. If we can get a quick window onto getting a latch through the wall there, we could potentially get our first tag and, you know, venture off to a different chase entirely. But Gunther, with a little bit of jiggy, has delayed the tag a long time. And do we commence the chase onto Gunther now, or do we leave? Freya's thinking about it, but thinks it's probably within their best interest to actually leave the chase entirely, go back to the top half, and then find somebody else just sit in a generator there. So back with the tentacles, and away we go over towards 10. We do not see anybody, but Ruin taking into effect on the generator, which was something that you saw last game get cleansed very early on. So Nortal actually did very good to hold on to his generators and play around the fact that Ruin was broken so early in the trial. So the survivors actually did fairly good last trial to break that and just, you know, set themselves up for a better game in the midterm events. But, you know, looking at the other portion of the build or options, stock standard stuff, that's something you want to be bringing in. Corrupt Intervention has been brought this time around as opposed of, what was the other perk that we had seen? Turn Back the Clock, which, you know, depending on who you ask, probably isn't the best perk to be bringing in sometimes. I mean, there's other people who think that it's very strong, some people that think it's probably not worth it, and it is the trick of the trade sometimes. But Freya has decided not to bring it this time around. It is opted to go for a little bit, more conventional with the build from what we, from as far as what we see in OSL. Sumpeng and I believe that was Nortal that we previously seen stealthing by, and Corrupt Intervention is out of the way with no down to really get us up in a way. Gunther has had a very good chase to start off the match, and our survivors have done very well to stealth everything out. So we're off to a very slow start. Just kind of the nature of Suffocation Pit 1 in a nutshell. But Nortal has been spotted behind a rock here, and I'm not too sure how we've done that. Maybe just catching the slightest glimpse of him bobbing around that rock, and does have nice mid to be working with here. Vaults the window, does win the 50. L&T into L&T, not too sure. Oh wait, matchsticks into L&T, I think it was. I don't know, window into window from main, and we've elected to use 8 straight back to the window side, where potentially we can wrap around and use the pallet here. But Freya trying to catch out Nortal, does end up getting another Kagune tag. And honestly, our survivors are looking dangerous right now here, Chief.
yeah, I mean, look, this is pretty typical of KaitOkids. They love to just play very, very aggressively, I'd like to say. They're very confident in each of their individual chases, so they can play around all of these generators very, very effectively, and also slow the game down to a snail's pace whenever they so need. We are seeing that come on out. Nortal's going to mend himself as Gunther is now the desired chase. He will get Champions of the Light off, much to the dismay of Yuki, who was struggling in the previous trial, but Gunther will safely buy his distance to Shaq. We try to do the little blight thing where you run back into the killer to avoid a tag. Unfortunately for Gunther, it's not worked out this time. That's going to be him bitten. And all things considered, Freya is still in a decent position. The gens on the top side, I would assume, are worrying. We do have a HUD bug, and I can't see what Sumpeng and Naroz are doing, but the longer we spend on the bottom side, the more and more likely we are to see those gens pop for free. And yeah, there goes one, and I'm sure the second will shortly follow. But Gunther now back at Shaq. The bounce coming out to try and cut him off from the window, but to no avail. The vault comes on out instead, and Gunther will have Shaq to play around still, but opting to head towards his Godfiller at 6, preventing Shaq from being thrown in an unoptimal way. Instead, a stun at 6 yet again. Freya's going to break that pallet. Champions Light to slow down our pursuit after the fact. A second generator of the trial and Ruin gone for this chase, and Gunther now at Shaq. The vault over does come on out. He's tried to vault back, but boy, oh boy, the rust is showing. The way he's tried to vault back doesn't work anymore, and that will be, unfortunately, him on the ground for the lack of knowledge. Better luck next time, buddy. Maybe we should have scrimmed. But first hook of the trial with 2 gens having been popped for Freya. Definitely not the start we saw from Nortor, and way more in the favor of the survivors so far. Hunter, I would dare say they are already positioning themselves for outs, but we do know that Ghoul can snowball rather aggressively. The hook into basement didn't use a pain res, but Freya does suspect that the gen progress is quite lacking, and maybe forcing second stage could be our avenue to getting back into this.
We'll have to wait and see. Sorry, I've muted myself. Freya is back on the case here towards the scratch marks, just covering the middle of the map. But we do manage to see the vault of the window straight into the basement there. It's going to probably be, who was it? Stay Naros going in for this. Oh, it's going to be a wait, it's Nortor going for it. Hello? He's injured. He's down. Okay. So Nortor on the floor. Tag onto Gunther. Slug, follow up the chase here. Survivors, are they just pressing the generators in the background, ready to get that win condition solidified? Who knows? But we are still trying to play around this field. Oh, Freya too strong, and we see Stay Naros here. Just caught out at a loss over at 3. That's going to be another tag. Sumpeng, our only one saving grace. We get the pickup onto Gunther here. And all of a sudden, our progression to the match has been put at a halt. It is Nortor off the floor, so you know Sumpeng's not on a generator. You know Daenaros just back all the way over at 3. Is he pressing 3? He really shouldn't be. Should be free leaving by now. And I was about to say, surely we do not catch him at the generator. As Goddess Freya does take the kick onto 3. Does know they can actually follow up towards corner 1 with no repercussion at all. That is our only progression on the map here. We slap in the face. Freya, being stunned, does opt to break the pallet and unzones himself. Is Stay Naros. Back half of main, we don't want to chase that. How about we just go back to the hook and get that tunnel out onto Gunther here? So Gunther really needs to put on the jets after that performance there at the filler pallet, but I'll give credit to where credit is due. He did try to play amongst a very short filler that ultimately the killer should have won in any regard after unsuccessfully making away from the basement. You got to remember, that's a far distance to be traveling from basement to 4. Even though on paper, when you look from a top-down perspective, that the distance is pretty short. Oh, hello. What's going on here? Okay, never mind. Well, we are going to be following up on the chase onto Sumpeng, just kind of like staring where the killer wasn't. But as I was talking about before, yeah, it's the fact that you have to walk out of the basement and and wrap around. So, you know, the diversion of the pathing straight into 4 was always going to take him such long. That's Gunther, that is, and ultimately he got caught and hit down. Just wasn't able to really make anything but that filler pallet. So. Gotta cut him some slack. Anyway, following up onto Nortor here, who has been working 10 all along. He's got a lot of progression on that generator, and hopefully in the background the survivors are slamming out 3 as Stay Naros is now nice and healthy in the trial. Gunther's still injured at the moment. Maybe they're going for a reset onto him, who knows, but Nortor still happy to take chase around the coal buckets. Does pre-drop very nicely. That's a vault over the pallet. Do we get the hit in time? No, we don't, because we vault straight back into the killer. Moi, how you doing, Mr. Sir? Just gonna be trying to force the break and force Nortor into an unsavory position where now we have to use the long side of the coal buckets into the pallet. Do we make the pallet? No, we don't. And Freya has done very well to counteract the movements of Nortor there. Pick up onto Nortor. Now, this is only our third stage of the game. It was looking pretty likely that we could pull back to a 4K2 if we were managing to down Gunther and camp Gunther out. But, oh, sorry, camp Gunther out. What am I saying? He's on Death Hook. That's going to be the pain resonance onto 10 nonetheless, and it's going to slow the game down just a little bit more. But we need to find Gunther now. So, as opposed to taking chase to him beforehand, where it was applicable and easier, and the game would have been much more manageable in this state, it's looking like it's going to be very tough work for Goddess Freya now, having progression all the way over at 10 and progression all the way over at 5. So after taking that tag onto Sumpeng, it's straight back on the generators as we do get our eruption kicks in. That's going to be 5 marked with it. Now, can we spot out Gunther? And we do. Now, what can Gunther do for us? Can he put on the Master Magician play that we know he's definitely well and truly capable of? G-Money himself. What can he do here? Does have the pallet to be working with. Stuns it in the killer's face. Unsuccessful Kagune tag. A break at the pallet as well. Following up here. Goddess Freya, do you commence this? You don't. You know you can't, and you need to go back to your generators here. If you got the tag onto Gunther, maybe it would have been applicable, but with 4 survivors left in the trial, this is looking really unlikely. And again, they still do have 1 generator to, well, the killer still has 1 generator to spare. It doesn't matter if we pop 1 generator and 4K from that position, because that will be the tie. And we know how much we love tiebreakers going into the night. We'll be seeing there only if that's the case, and that's always a good set to be watching. But preferably in this instance, the killer do have the survivors do have the upper hand. They'll want to be taking away this set this time around, especially it being their pick. So Goddess Freya, after getting that hook onto Stay Naros there, does traverse over towards 7. Where did our survivor go? We cannot find them. Maybe we'll just take the Greg on the gen and just straight back to the hook. Try to cut off any sort of funny rotation, but we do get the pull from underneath our killer's nose to get the game up and running again. All in the background, you probably think that 10's being worked as well, so Goddess Freya knows they need to go back and capitalize on that fact. Press the survivor off the generator, whoever's working within this vicinity. Maybe it was even the pulling survivor, but it doesn't matter. The scratch marks here leading towards into main, as we do take the kick here onto 10. It is going to be blood pools just around this pallet here, and you got to be careful of who this is. Sumpeng in chase, but I don't think the survivor... Oh, yeah, no, it is Sumpeng. I've been sorely mistaken. I thought it was an injured survivor. I saw blood pools on the floor, but that's the one who rotated into main. Anywho, tag onto Sumpeng, straight back towards the generators here. Really fighting for dear life when it comes to that 4K2 here, Chief, but I think it's a little too far out of our reach.
Yeah, we do have... There's the 4K2 gone! That is beautiful timing. Yeah, we're definitely looking for outs on the side of the survivors, which doesn't surprise me after Gunther not being found for an extended period of time. It was really looking like the outs were inevitable. The chases following that fact were quite good, and here is Gunther, a little bit too late. He's been found on top of his gen at 7, which is about 99, and gen at 6 is also highly progressed. Gunther's going to have to do his damnedest to last on this old Godrock. If the swing comes on through, he's going to make it just in time. That's that Thailand to Thailand ping, and Freya knows we can't commit to this for too long. Eruption would be a boon, but we really can't afford to let this chase be extended, and that does mean Mortal, the ideal chase. His gen also 99 tier, but you know, right now, Freya, unfortunately, kicking the gen at 6 and 7 does pop. That does mean the set is taken by KaitOkids 1-0 on the night so far, and Naroz entering chase as the endgame does begin. Freya's going to get a tag as there's no pallet in this tile. We're going to play for as many stages as possible. Getting this kill would result in 6 stages, 3 fresh. This is honestly not too untypical of a result on Suffo for the killer. It is a really strong map, and once again, the fact that we're seeing 4K averages is a really big shock to me, and I know even the expected result I wrote is 10 stages. I think 6 isn't that bad, all things considered. I think it's more than likely to happen, and you know what, we might get a bit more, but no, Nortor's got a dead hard in his back pocket. That's going to result in him ending up out the door. That's potentially 4 stages if 4 stages if Naroz and Gunther can exit the trial, which with Freya now still at the top side of the map, I would argue it's more than likely to occur. Actually, the gate's at 11, so maybe they haven't gotten it open just yet. In fact, it isn't open at all, so they might just be going for a reset on the bottom side to exit freely. Freya still at 2, just trying to make sure they can do whatever they can at this point to prevent this 2 survivor setup from exiting the trial, but I do think it is all for naught at this point, Hunter.
Yep, you are correct, Chief. It is looking extremely likely that it will be 4 stages. I just want to point out, you know, Freya actually didn't have a bad game at all. I think what hurt them in the long run is that they tried playing for the win.
Yet again, it is one of the strongest survivor maps in the game. It's a very nice home for Singularity nonetheless, because the gens, despite the fact the survivors will have a field day in those tiles, the gens are still very, very gross for the Singularity, and you can have a lot of good games, and I think Freya is looking to have one of those right now. Ruin and Undying is a very interesting pick, but I am a big fan because look at this, having a totem deep at 9 all the way and another one at 10. You can put cams right in the gens that always spawn on this side of the map. Yeah, look at that, 9, 10, and 11 RR gens, and they're inside of both of our totems. Incredible stuff for Freya, and yeah, I'm hoping we're going to have a bit of an entertaining one. I know Singularity sets can be long and drawn out, and for most people, not the most entertaining, but I'm really looking forward to this because it's not only our first of the season, like I mentioned a bit ago, Hunter, but it's definitely going to be one of the first with our new look balancing, which is very, very Survivor leaning in the tier 2, which Singularity does reside in, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see more outs, because this killer is definitely infamous for his 4K ones.
He is, but we're looking for 8 stages, so let's see what we can do as we do take the tag onto Staynaris here at the corner of 1. This allows us to use main freely. We are going to be setting up main just mid-chase here, just trying to get our bearings, but we've opted to go for a bit of big cam placement, trying to see if anybody is around, or potentially we can catch Staynaris rotating away from the main building, but we've just stayed here ultimately. Now, are we able to make the pallet inside of main? We are, and we are going to be getting infected with that slipstream there. 3, 2, 1 on the pallet, not quite breaking it, so gonna have to play around it. We didn't even go for the break there. Quite interesting being in like overclocked mode or whatnot. I'm pretty sure that's what the name of the power is, but we are going to be taking that fast break onto the pallet here over at 3, forced into the corner of 1, making for a very pristine death location, might I add. You know, typical how this map actually plays, but pre-dropping the pallet in the process here, lasting a little bit extra longer, which is exactly what we needed. Do we even the 50-50 mind game on the window? We didn't even play the damn. What the hell? Excuse me! What the? Okay. Well, it's still a good chase. It's still a good death spot. It's something we thought about. It should have happened probably seconds ago before that down actually would have happened, but there's a sniper in the bushes, Chief.
We've suggested the idea that Naroz should be on the ground, and the DPD gods agreed with Freya today, because I did not see that swing connect. The air particles must have cut him down. Yeah, I mean, that's a spectacle, because once again, these teams are from the same region. Obviously, there is no, like, 12 MS POCOS occurring. Both the teams are from Thailand, so that means they're about 40 to 60 MS. But even then, 40 to 60 MS, a total of potentially 100 ping between the killer and the survivor, resulting in that? Disgusting. Horrible. Naroz has got to be screaming. I know I would, but I am a 12 MS ping princess, so I scream at any down, to be honest with you. Fortunately for Freya, though, although we did get a very fortunate down on our end, 2 gens did pop for it. Sunpeng also has a lot of progress on a 3rd, and our cameras aren't actually set up in the best positions right now. We do see Nortor coming in for the trade. He's going to barely get it in time. That's going to be a second. Oh my word, how did we avoid that down? Regardless, Nortor has decided to give it. Never mind, Nortor has not decided to give that down for free, but he is definitely still going to be the one in chase. Finally, he will go down and get dragged back to that same hook, our second pain res of the trial. But Hunter, to be honest with you, I don't really think it matters. All survivors are in still such a strong spot. Sunpeng and Gunther both have gens very highly progressed. Naroz, our potential tunnel out from just moments ago, has gotten away scot-free. We have our hook nowhere near our gens. We have gotten rid of both Ruin and Undying. We're playing with 1 perk in this trial, and Singularity, for, you know, being a killer that can instantaneously teleport around the map and get from A to B with a lot of pressure on the survivors at all times, is actually pretty damn slow when he doesn't have his infections. And right now, Freya has none. Nortor being on hook was our only infected survivor, but of course that dissipates as soon as you are hooked. And our other 3, Sunpeng now catching that infection, but has a EMP in his hands. It's already gone. The vault does come on through. That will be a tag as we don't make it to the T in time, but Sunpeng one injury for Nortor off the hook. So back to the hook we go. Freya really needs to get something going. A quick chase onto Nortor would be ideal, but once again, Naroz's gen is about 50%. I know that Gunther's gen was close by. He might be off doing a little side quest, grabbing an EMP, or potentially playing Protect the President with Nortor, which is how you need to play against Singularity. Playing in pairs is an old-fashioned strategy that comes on out in DBD, but yeah, with Gunther close by, I can only assume that was the plan. We do see him now in chase, healthy still, so has some health states to work with. Will be taking this tag from the camera, but actually has managed to avoid it. His movement around the long side of this filler means that Freya has to look in other places. We finally get an infection onto Naroz, but he's going to be able to EMP himself and that camera. His gen is also 99, so Freya, unable to teleport there, will just be getting that gen done. Bam. 2 generators remaining in the trial. Gunther in chase yet again on this mid filler. The cameras will come out yet again, but we're going to stun Freya out of the looking glass, and now Gunther has to do his best to navigate away from this situation whilst avoiding all of this. I can't believe we have somehow still not gotten infected. Finally, it's come on out, and the EMP is in our hands, so what you going to do about it, Freya? That's going to feel really bad. He has to replace that camera. We're going to swing at the air. Gunther able to avoid that tag, but it will be coming out soon enough. Our fillers are lacking. We're running around trees and giving Freya a little kiss in that chase, and my word, I mean, Hunter, at this point, KaitOkids are looking so confident on this set. This is something I've never seen them pick before. Actually, they didn't pick it at all, did they? This is actually the pick of Ancestor, and I feel like that goes to show my next point. I've never seen them play this set. I didn't know this was a killer that they had motion on, but god damn are they proving they can keep up.
Look at the way my boy G Money moving over at corner 5 as we take the tag onto Sumpeng here. We are going to be following up for something a little bit more in our favor. Our killer forever in search of that next down as we do take the teleportation onto Sumpeng, counteracting the movements very nicely. Does get the pre-drop as well just before the swing. We're a little too far away from that, buddy, but we do manage to get the teleport on the other side, and that will be Sumpeng going down. Gunther in the background just trying to rotate for that generator over at 10. Nortor even being cheeky for that beamer. We know how dangerous and deadly he is with that thing. And in the background, you do see our near Stay Naros just slamming out another generator somewhere off in the distance. But that's going to be the pain resonance to negate the pressure on Gunther's gen over at mid 10. Freya is now just trying to go back into the cams and get that infection rate onto Gunther there. He's pretty confident he can get the generator done, or is he? Is he just playing very greedy and out of his mind? That's going to be the firecracker drop down to just allow him to evade and make towards 9, but Freya does not want any of that. We see Sumpeng get unhooked in the background there. One being worked, and I do believe this may have been Stay Narrows' gen. Yeah, we have caught him in the corner location, but this is not the pristine death location that it once was, so we have to last a little bit longer, potentially to eat the tag and then run all the way down into 3 or some sort of, through main even, because it's such a strong loop. But there's cameras inside of it, so we will be getting tagged, I do believe. I mean, he opted not to use the inside for that very reason. But with a nice bit of camera placement from Freya, we're able to get that that infection rate just before that window is made on the outside of main regardless. Now, we are going to momentarily stop the chase and try to press Gunther off of 10, but all in the meantime, Freya does not want to commit onto Gunther, just wants to scare him rather than buy themselves just an extra bit of time in the game. So caught in between it all. It's like you're just in the middle of everything. Where do you go from here on out? And the pressure is put on from all points in the map as far as the survivors go. We are forced to take the break onto the generator here, but we need it down, and there's no eruption to aid us as Double Ruin has been broken, and all we have in our back pocket is 1 stack of pain resonance. Otherwise, we are no perk Andy, and in the 3v1 at 2 generators remaining, sorry, a 4v1 at 2 generators remaining, it's extremely likely that our survivors will pop all remaining generators for potentially a mid-stage game, which is exactly what you want in a scenario like this, where we anticipate there will be 8 stages. So we do manage to spot out Gunther here after just rotating off his generator into the corner of 10. He does manage to get a hit, but we've evaded the infection very nicely just for a few seconds, but Killer Instinct dobbing us, and we're in the portion of that loop where there is no line of sight. There's no way to actually be teleported on. Freya commencing back onto Gunther here, who is our only fresh hook, is trying to play the remaining stages, I would believe, for what would seem to be 7 stages. If we are to camp all remaining stages onto Gunther, yeah, there it is. the last generator of the trial procking in the background, where you think that the survivors will be escaping for the remaining of their stages, which, yeah, will be 7 stages if we do manage to down Gunther. But if we don't down Gunther and he doesn't prolong the chase, no, well, if he does prolong the chase with some bodies coming in very effectively, this will just be 3 stages. Now, they are both infected. Is there anybody for a body? There definitely has to be. There has to be somebody over at 1. Sunpeng's just going to be going down to preserve the extra remaining stage onto Gunther there, so we're going to play it safe and go for the pickup for what seems to be at max 5 stages if we do manage to camp out all remaining here on the front of main. I think the survivors might just think to take all remaining outs out the door. This would be pretty silly to play for, but it is pretty close, so they definitely could do it. They cannot screw it up, though. They cannot get fumbly. They cannot make any mistakes because this is punishable. And let's say in a fairy tale instance that we go for this pull and we get a quick 2-tap onto Gunther because something went wrong, that is even more stages allocated to us for 8 stages, which when potentially we could be working with 5. However, Goddess Freya just pretty happy to sit in front of it all, and we are actually playing for this save, so we're not going to be leaving. That's going to be the tag onto Nortor. The pull needs to come in now and does so effectively, but we cannot afford to have Nortor go down, and I think with some good camera placement there, we just do not have enough distance. We do not have enough time to down. I think we did last time around anyway. It didn't really matter too much. And then obviously everything else just keeping amongst the same. You just got to hope for a good ruin spawn, maybe take advantage of it in the early game, get a quick early down. I know that's very reliant on the RNG and how well the survivors are versed within the M1 mind games amongst this killer. That's essentially what needs to happen. It just needs to basically crumble at the beginning. But you know what? Even if it doesn't, we got like 4 stages to work with at the very worst. So, and if we do manage to somehow lose this set, honestly, don't even talk to me about singularity add-ons. I barely know how this killer functions just in the base game alone. Leave me be. No, I'm kidding. I do appreciate the spectator showing us the add-ons, and I've completely lost my train of thought. But we're just going to move straight on into the match again. This is going to be Nortor here, over in the middle of the map, trying to find his first chase off the rip, and it does spot out Go to Dagestan with that Legacy Meg just rotating around here. So he's been in the game a hot minute, you know, flexing Legacy on us. Ha. But we do manage to find out our ace and shades. Was there an ace and shade? There's Leon in shorts as well. Stylish, might I add. Going to be eating this. Oh my god, no. The shot's got to stop, man. The sniper shots have got to stop. We're playing Dead by Daylight here. We're not playing Sniper Elite. Anywho, going to be back on the case there. Teleporting onto our ace. Back vaulting, and this is the quick chase that I was talking about. Oh boy. It is going to be a rough game for our survivors with a chase that early. Even checking his totem. Look at this guy placing cam right off the rip there. It's his one saving grace as we don't have double ruin into effect. No, but we do have the perks to back up if we do manage to lose our ruin. It's going to be the first hook, and we can only afford to really give up 3 more. 2 more for the win condition, 3 more for the tie condition. So already not looking good here as we do spot out our Lara Croft with EMP in hand, ready to get on that ruin totem. And Nortor knows it. Is just kind of scaring off our Lara Croft, who has, I think, momentarily gone off into 12. Now we're trying to look if they have rotated into the middle of main, but have not done so. That's going to be the EMP, so they're still around in that area. But does Nortor want to commence back onto them or go back for the pull? Now, since the pull had happened, I think the way that last game panned out, if it was a tougher win condition for Nortor to meet, meaning stages, he would go for the tunnel out in this instance, but he's opted to probably go back and see if he can catch out Lara pretty early on. However, I think maybe he's just protecting the totem. He still wants the tunnel out. He's going back towards where the unhook had happened. It is trying to spot out some sort of a reset going on, but I think with Yuki and Go to Dagestan on generators, he's self-resetting with the med kit. So we've managed to spot him out here. And again, Nortor will want to make this quick. Definitely can do so. Gets the successful teleport onto our survivor, but this will result in the tag because we have just zoned him into the corner of the map there to where he doesn't have enough distance to reach Shaq. It is facing the entirely wrong way. Wrong way. Oh, I got a little bit tongue twisted there. We do manage to drop the filler pallet here over at 6 though, and we don't opt to break it that time because we don't want to sacrifice the distance, but I don't think we make the pallet nor the window. Um, as far as our killer goes, our survivor definitely does, has way more than enough distance that is needed, but generators popping in the background, the pressure is adequate. If we get a body in or something, or Leon lasts a little too long in chase, we could be in trouble down here, Chief.
We definitely could, Hunter. I know we're talking about the chase and the fact that 2 generators have popped for it. We now see Dagestan coming in for a hit. I want to point out something really peculiar. We talked about the add-ons, and I know you mentioned you didn't know what they really do. Also, a third survivor coming in to protect Leon. That's going to be the slipstream EMP'd off of us, so Leon will last in chase without that a little bit longer as we make it towards the strong setup at 9. Unfortunately, our tiles here are not as favorable, so Leon will have to play quite safely. We bait the drop, and that does mean the pallet will come out. We tried a 360 Nortor. It doesn't work out, and Yuki cannot be close enough to take a tag. That will be Leon's second hook of the trial, but what I very quickly want to talk about, Hunter, and Mr. Streamer, if you can press tab really quickly, just so we can look at the add-ons. Yeah, I want to hover over this one. It's unforeseen, the add-on. This add-on is terrible. Like, I actually don't understand why Nortor has brung it, brang it, and I think it might be a mistake. He's put it, for clarity, he has put it on his build, like, BBD sheet. This was intentional. He's meant to bring this add-on, but what's the perk that makes you, when you get hit, you get TR on you instead of the killer? Because that's all it does. Dark Devotion. Yeah, it does. It's Dark Devotion, the add-on.
Oh.
So I don't know why we have it. The other add-on, by the way, increases the range of your bipod, your cameras, by 4 meters. It's the best add-on in the game for this killer, but we have one add-on, effectively, because the other one is literally a meme, but Nortor is doing enough with it. He's gotten a tag onto Yuki. Dagestan is also injured. We're going to use our bipod now to get an infection on to Yuki, and because of how many stages we need, we've abandoned our tunnel out entirely. We're opting for this pain res. This is going to be a third hook of the trial. 3 of 5 required to win, and a pain res to slow down these gens. We also have Ruin still ticking at any gen, which has to be abandoned. And we did obviously see Dagestan and Yuki come in to protect Leon a little bit ago. So I'm sure their generators that they were working previously have been regressing for a little bit now. And more concerningly is that Dagestan has been caught out entirely at 9. That swing is going to connect. That's the tie condition met by Nortor with this hook. One more in this game is the win to KaitOkids. He's already put himself in the position to secure that with 2 generators remaining, and with 3 injuries, or 2 injuries rather, on the board, obviously our third being Dagestan, who is now hooked, things are looking really, really dicey. And more concerningly is the fact that Space, our healthy survivor, is now slipstreamed. He's going to have to do his best to play slow and not give away a down. But even more concerningly now is that Leon is in the same position, but he is our tunnel out, and with him unable to make this pallet in the mid-map, that's going to be him exiting the trial. We see Space01 coming in to play for a save, and Yuki is now here. The FTP comes out. We try to stun the killer, but he's in overclock. That's not going to work out. We get the FTP, give away a health state, and the down comes in nonetheless. Unfortunately, Leon will still be exiting the trial. We're trying desperately to do everything to keep him alive. The blind is for naught, and Space01 will have to take their distance. That is the win to KaitOkids as Leon exits the trial, but Space01 has to do their damnedest to last in chase. There are still 2 generators remaining for our survivors, and we desperately need one of them to pop right now. The 3v1 with 2 injuries, especially with the singularity in overclock, as we did just see Space01 drop a pallet for nothing. That's going to be a tag regardless. Things are looking very dicey. We really, really need to stabilize, and the longer we spend with Space in chase, and I would hope at least our survivors repositioning well, things are going to snowball more and more. We have so many cameras around our remaining generators. Ruin is still in the trial. The 50 has been lost by Space, and that's going to be him potentially pain rest and hooked. But there we see Yuki on 3, and they now, infected, have EMP'd themselves, so the safety that they have guaranteed themselves is reacquired.
That it is. 2 survivors still injured though. So if we manage to actually just commence the chase back onto Yuki, go to Dagestan can rotate for the pull, I guess. But I mean, this is just going to be the one hit down onto Yuki. However, Nortor has opted not to go complete that chase. He's just wanting to go back on Gen Patrol where he sees somebody working over at 9. Sorry, let's say somebody, but that's obviously going to be go to Dagestan by process of elimination, as, you know, we already have one tunnel out Leon. I'm just very happy just touching up on the fact that KaitOkids are able to take away a series this time around. They were forever in search of one. You know, they lost to IMO 2-1, which was the team that I was looking for a little bit early on when I was trying to discuss the situation with them. And then just obviously losing to Longbottom, the revenge that's happened from what happened last season. So, you know, did really well this time around, and Nortor's still not done here. Once that 4K2 does manage to spot out Yuki, and unfortunately for Ancestor. Now, as much as I'm very happy for KaitOkids, this is where I really feel